So you're looking at the halacha of talking after washing the hands. Is it asur or mutter? What the story is. So the sugya starts on brachos mem beis amud aleph. So you have the sugya at the end. Amar Rabbi Chia Barashi Amar Rav Shalosh Tafuchas, and there are three miads. Takef is miad. So three things that are miad. Takef l'smicha shchita. So this is on Chag when you bring your korban to the Beis Hamikdash. So you soimach, you lean on the korban, and then you shecht it. Takef l'geula tefila. That's in the Shmona Esrei in davening, and takef l'natilas yadayim bracha. So this here is our halacha here. Can we have it brought down in the halacha? And that cheser takef immediately from natilas yadayim, from when you do the washing of the hands, and the bracha, you have the bracha. So this would be understood. So as Rashi say, L'natilas yadayim. What is natilas yadayim mean? Demayim achronim. So what do we see here? Rashi saying that it's mayim achronim. So it's nothing to do with mayim rishonim. So there's an idea here, Maklokas, as to what exactly, when it says take it l'natilas yadayim bracha, what bracha is it referring to? Is it referring to brachos hamazon, or is it talking to the bracha of hamotzi? So if it is bracha hamotzi, then from the first natilas yadayim until hamotzi, it has to be immediately. Or do we learn that it's natilas yadayim of the mayim achronim, and then you do the brachos hamazon? So Rashi clearly says that it's mayim achronim, clear mayim achronim. Now, later on in brachos, Nun Aleph, we have the Mishnah, the Maklokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai omrim natilas liyadayim echakach mozen esakoi. So that first you wash your hands and then you fix the cup. Now the Rif here says that this is referring to Kiddush. But Rashi holds that we're talking here yain haba lifnei hamazon, that it's the wine that's before the mazon. So it's during the week, that whenever you have wine that you have before bread, there's a Maklokas here between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. That Beis Shammai says that you first wash your hands and then you have the kais, and Beis Hillel say that you mix the cup and then you take the hand. So on Nun Beis Amud Beis, so then they're arguing what are the reasons behind them. So Dava Acher, there's another reason why Beis Hillel holds what they hold, to take it from the natilas yadayim suda. That immediately after the natilas yadayim you have the suda, so therefore you shouldn't wash before you have the cup. You should have the cup and then you wash. Why? Because as soon as you have the natilas yadayim, you should have the suda. So we have another idea here. If we go back to our previous Gemara, that if it's takef l'natilas yadayim bracha, which bracha are we referring to? Seemingly from this Gemara, we're referring to the suda. We're referring from the natilas yadayim of the washing of the hands of natilas yadayim, and then you have hamotzi. That's what we're referring to. That's the pashtus. However, we see up here in Tosfos, Teisel natilas yadayim suda v'hai de lo chashiv leila ayil. So we didn't have this above. So therefore, this is another takef. So therefore, the one above would be mayim achronim, and now the one we have here is the mayim rishonim. So the original one. So far we've seen everyone is holding that the mayim in which we've seen in the first Gemara, Teichef l'natilas yadayim, you have the bracha, the bracha is referring to brachos hamazon. So there is no inyan in the first Gemara whatsoever between even having any, you can have as much of a break as you want between washing your hands and having your suda. But now we have here this idea, well, we have a Teikef l'natilas yadayim suda. So this is really our only source. But again, it is the halacha. So v'hai de lo chashiv leila ayil, b'hari idach techus b'shum de shenui bin mishnah lo chash lematnisa. Because if it's in a mishnah, which we have already, it's in the mishnah. Since it's in the mishnah, so then we don't have to bring it in the Gemara before. So they ask on this Tosfos, well, the smicha is a mishnah. The shachtein is a mishnah. So a simple teretz would be that Tosfos here is referring to in the same Masechta. If you already have the same Masechta and it's in a Mishnah, so there you know, but the Smicha is on a different Masechta. So now in Pesachim, every Pesachim Kov Vav Amud Beis, Zamin and Sagina Hayu Kamina Kamini de Rav. So we have a whole sugi here where they were by Rav, and Tosfos asks, Hashta Masek the Kiddush Lo Havi Hezach Hadas. So we say that Kiddush isn't making a break, and if Kiddush isn't making a break. In Tembecher's Elu Devarim and Brachos that we just saw, Amri Beis Hillel, Moigzin Esa Kois Vechakach Noisim Nidayim. So why? Beis Hillel has said that having the Kiddush, mixing the cup in the middle, is a Hesech Hadas. So therefore, why are we saying here that Kiddush is not Hesech Hadas? So you can make Kiddush in between. You can wash your hands, you can make Kiddush, and then you can do Hamotzi, and there is no Hesech Hadas. That Kiddush isn't Hesech Hadas. But over in Brachos, it seems to be, because it says, don't mix the cup. And then, over there by Brachos, so we have the reason, because Teichen Natilas Daim Suda. So again, this is going on the first. V'ki Mogzu HaKois Have Tefei Hesech Hadas Mi Kiddush. And therefore, if you mix the cup, it's more Hesech Hadas than Kiddush. So you have levels of where you're going to lose yourself. So already you see here, Tosis, the whole point as what's the takef is that you don't have Hesech Hadas. Why do we have immediately, why do we go straight from washing and then eat the bread? So there's no Hesech Hadas. You don't lose your thoughts about having the Suda that you said in Tilsi Daim, because again Tosis is going on the first washing before Hamotzi. That you did the washing before the Hamotzi, now you don't have Hesech Hadas. You don't start getting confused and doing other things in between the washing of the hands and the Suda. So therefore, you always have your mind on the Suda. So mixing the cup will make you lose your mind on the Suda, but saying Kiddush won't. So it's a very involving process, and it's tefei hesech hadas mi kiddush, whereas kiddush is fine. But Rabbeinu Tam says the hasam is a b'chol. So over there in Brachos we're talking about the chol, and yesh lechosh im yitul kodem mizigas yosek b'shar devarim. So you'll this is the whole thing, that you'll be oisek in other things, and you won't eat immediately. So it's all about eating and eating the bread. But by Shabbos, there's no lachush. There's an ein lachush that he will be doing something else, because the shulchan is orach and he will eat miyad. So therefore, by Shabbos, when you go and you wash your hands and then you go and you sit down and eat bread, we don't have any issues about having a separation between the washing and eating the bread, because the table's right there. You're sitting down at the table. You're going to eat your food, and therefore we have no problems with the earlier Suda as to whether you are going to, there's no issues that you are going to lose your mind and not eat your food. So therefore, when you go for Shabbos, Rabbeinu Tam says there's no issue about making a separation from the washing until the Suda. Now that's most of the Gemaras we'll look at. So the Rambam, Tzarech Adam to dry his hands and then he eats. And anyone who eats without drying his hands, like he ate bread, that's tameh, and all that washes his hands ba'achroina. So again, Rambam ba'achroina, he's going like Rashi. He has to dry them, and after and then he mivarech v'teichen and tzizlitayim bebrachos hamazon. So the way that the Rambam is clear, teichen and tzizlitayim berachos hamazon, because the Gemara says bracha, and then the Rambam says berachos hamazon. Lo yisik benehim, don't make a separation between them. So the Rambam's holding here, like the Rashi that we're talking about. Mayim Achronim, and therefore Mayim Rishonim we don't have an issue. So here we have the Hagos Maminus, the Kain Pirshu B'Toises, the Kain Kasav Rabbeinu Simcha Shekai Mayim Achronim. This is what's about Mayim Achronim, Berachos Hamazon. But however, in the Yerushalmi, it's mashma that we're referring al Mayim Rishonim. Berachos Hamotzi de Kamar. What does it say? Everyone that has the Takef and then the bracha on Sitayim, the Satan will not be makachik in that Oto Suda. So since it's on that Suda, and if it's referring to Mayim Achronim and Birchas Hamazon, we've already had the Suda, so therefore Madahave, so therefore how do you know if the Satan is going to be makachik or not? So here we have the Hagos Maminus is saying that Tosfos, he doesn't say Rashi, we've seen Rashi, and the Rambam are all saying it's going to Mayim Achronim, but Hagos Maminus is saying that, look at the Yerushalmi, and it's going on Mayim Rishonim before Berachos Hamazon. So we take it now to the Torah. So the Torah, Vayinag Yadav Heitev Berachos Hamotzi Miyad. So again, this is just like the Lashon of the Rambam. However, Rabbeinu Yoel, he wrote that She'ein Lochush, there's nothing to worry about on a hefsek between Tilas Hamotzi from the first washing and the Hamotzi, because the shulchan is before you. So we saw these ideas in Tosfos that for Maim Rishonim we have no issue whatsoever of a hefsek, and therefore you can wash for your hands and have a hefsek. There's no issue there because the table's there, and you won't lose your mind, and you will for sure eat. You won't forget to eat. But daito lacho, so it's not considered a hefsek hadas. V'hahu to take it from the Tilas Bracha mefurshla al Maim Chonim. So that's what it said in the Gemara. It's talking about Maim Chonim. That's also what Rav Alfas explained, and the Rambam. The Adoni Avi Harosh. So the Rosh was the father of the Torah. Hayaragil Af Berishonim. So that the Rosh would also wash. He would also have not make a break between Maim Rishonim and the Berchos Hamotzi. Shelo lahafsik v'shelo ledaber. So here we have the first mention here of speaking. The Torah is bringing down what the Rosh would do. The Rosh wouldn't speak between the washing of the hands and the eating of the bread. That he would eat the last. He was the last person to eat, to wash his hands out of everybody. Shelo lahafsik, so that he wouldn't have a break in between. So here we have the Rosh was Ragil, and he was Ragil. So this is like a minhag of the Rosh to not speak. That was his minhag. V'shelo ledaber umitoch Yerushalmi mashma gankein. So now we have that the Rosh is paskenin, so it's like the Yerushalmi. That's how the Rosh is going. Dahahi tekef lenatila bracha da'amayim rishonim kai. And that's what it says there. The Tokif Barucha and Tilas L'Daim Eina Nizak L'Kol Oitasuda. So he's bringing down the Yerushalmi that goes that is going on the Maim Rishonim. This is a Prisha, a commentary on the Torah. It's bringing down this idea of Rabbeinu Yoel. So he holds there's no such thing as a hefsek. So Mamash Akotzav, that you make the cup and then that you wash the hands. And this is going like Hillel. Lokasha, because you say the Maisa Chashiv Hefsek Tefei Mi Dibur. That when you have a Maisa, the Maisa is the mixing of the cup. Because we're saying that Rabbeinu Yoel says you can speak no problem. So why over there by is Hillel being Machmir? Because the Meziga of the cup, that's as we explained in the Tosfos, it's a Maisa that will distract you from the meal. Mahada Amar B'Gemara taking the Tila Suda, so it's not a Kasha, because that's over what we saw. This is a Gemara with Hillel. The Yesh Loimer Loshen Suda. What is this Loshen Suda? Who havas shochan lefanav. When it says Suda, it doesn't mean eating the Suda. It means when you bring the table in front of them. And we have this in Pesachim, where at the Seder you bring the table in front and take it away. Because when the shochan is before him, then even though that there's a hefsek katzat, you have a hefsek oito habad. When you bring in the shochan, that's a kavias of the Suda. And therefore you're samach to the Suda, that's before you. So you have, again, the idea, if you're at the Shabbos table, so therefore, even if you speak, then there's no issue because you're not going to be distracted from having your meal. You're there, you're at your meal, you're done, it doesn't matter about any hefseks, and your mind is on the meal. The whole table's in front of you, of course you're going to have, of course your mind's on the meal. That's what Rabbeinu Yoel says, that because the Lashon is, since the table's before him. He doesn't say, because you're eating, or because the bread is ftavka, because the table's in front of you. Because also then it was difficult for him. You have all the kashas of the Tekef and Tzilas Suda. Masha'en came but Brachas HaMazon. But when you have the Brachas HaMazon, which is the end of the Suda, so why is he learning why is he learning the Gemara? Davka is on Maim Rechonim, just like Rashi and the Rambam and the Rif. To have a siluk, because there you remove the table. The table's not there anymore. So you remove the table, you do Maim Rechonim. Now what you have to do is bench it. The same Suda, and therefore you need it to be immediately, more than the Berchos HaMazon. Misham Hachi, then it will be Yitzadek She'ein Harosh Mevi Raya. That's why the Rosh didn't bring any rayas from what we say technically Yadayim Suda. He didn't bring any proofs from the second Gemara in Brachos there of Hillel and Beis Shammai. So here in the Bach, another commentary on the Torah, you have that the Rif refers to Alamayim Achronim Davka Kamar, but between Natila Lebracha Hamoitzi, it's not considered a hefsek, and he goes like Rabbeinu Yoel. So the Bach here is explaining, because the Beis Yosef doesn't understand how the Rif goes like. So he explains it here. And you have to say that the Rif and the Rambam and Rabbi Yol, they argue on what is written in the Tosfos. The Tosfos again is saying that it's Mayim Achronim. So therefore Beis Hillel is a different din. This is what they're arguing in the Tosfos, that again they don't bring it in halacha. They don't hold that there's any din at all of Mayim Rishonim. Tosfos is holding that there's two din in the Mayim Rishonim and Mayim Achronim. So the Rif and the Rambam, they argue on the Tosfos and Rabbi Yonah. So Rabbi Yonah is on Tosfos' team. Or they hold that since they don't consider it Bahadi, since they didn't list what Beis Hillel, this take again, it's a davar acher that Hillel already given his idea to of why he's arguing on Beis Shammai, and then brings another reason. That's a davar acher. So, but they didn't list this. The Tosfos says, why didn't list it? It's all the same. It should be in the list. But now we're saying that since they don't list this, then Alma de'ein l'chosh al psak bein netilas lehamoitzi. So since it didn't list it over there, so therefore there is no reason to be worried whatsoever, because it's not listed there. There are three immediates, because the fourth one we don't care about, we don't poskim by it, and therefore when you're coming down in halacha, we don't list it. That's how they're all learning it. And with lo kaimalan kadavar acher, we don't hold by this second reason that Hillel bring ela klishna kama b'braisa. It's the first lashon that Beis Hillel was telling Beis Shammai. See over there. And Bereish Elu Devorim, Kasav Bestam plucked at the Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. So at the beginning, it just has the stam maklokas, and they didn't bring this the Tanya the Beis Hillel. Davar Acher, Mishum Detekel Netilas Suda Alma Desfirale to Ein Lechosh Apsak Bein Netilas Lehamotzi. So this is the Divrei Harif. So the Rif at the beginning never brought down that second reason. So therefore he doesn't hold by that second reason. So Api Halacha is missing from the Psak. So again, we have machlokas as to what the Gemara on in Brachas is referring to. Really, everybody there is saying that it's on Mayim Achronim, and then the Yerushalmi seems to be saying it's going on Mayim Rishonim, and Tosfos brings that the Gemara later on with Beis Hillel Beis Shammai is going on Mayim Achronim, Mayim Rishonim. So the Beis Yosef, who's a commentary in the Torah, obviously wrote the Shulchan Aruch. And then what it says in Yerushalmi, that's also in an Izak B'chol Oto Sudas. That's going on the Mayim Rishonim. It's referring to Klaimar, and if it's referring to Mayim Achronim, and you've already had your meal, so therefore whatever it is, and therefore you can't go back to the Satan can't go back to that meal. Can Kasabahagos Maimus. We saw that, and it's also good to be careful also for Mayim Rishonim. So the Darkei Moshe, who is the Ramah, so he comments here on the Beis Yosef. Tzarchian, my lumen, divrei Yerushalmi shahavi raya. So the Beis Yosef is coming in from the Yerushalmi. We see the Yerushalmi is going on Mayim Rishonim. Look what it said in our Talmud, Perak Elu Devarim. This is Hillel Teikav Lentilas Suda. So the Darkei Moshe again is learning that our din of Hillel is going on Mayim Rishonim, and that's the Makor, and that's going like Tosfos. So even here we have the machlokas as to whether there is any din at all on the first washing. The only thing we've really seen is the Rosh saying that he didn't speak. He was like machmir on this area and he didn't speak. So now we move on to the Shulchan Aruch Yeshayimrim, that you don't need to be careful from making a break between the Netilia to Hamoitzi. So again, we've seen that these are most of the Rishonim in which we've seen up to this point, the Rambam and the Rif. We haven't seen anything in Rashi. It says you have to, so you don't need to be careful from making a hefsek. The Yeshayimrim said that you do need to be careful. The Toiv Lizaher, and it's good to be careful. Again, that's the end of Shulchan Aruch, and there's no din whatsoever about speaking. And again, the idea of being careful is that you have your mind on the meal and you don't make a hefsek. It has hesach hadas, and you forget to eat. That you have too much of a time between your washing and the eating, even if you're being careful. Now the Ramah, and if you do wait, kedei hiluch 22 amos, that's called a hefsek. So what is the hefsek? Is that so? Here the Ramah is saying that basically a time period that you shouldn't be delaying, and this 22 amos is based on this din and saita of where your it's 11 amos basically how far it takes the Mitzayir to get from the gate to the Mizbeach, and that's 22 amos. So here's the Bir Agro on the Shulchan Aruch. So the first one, Yesh Oimrim, that's a take of Netilas Yadayim, that this Barachim the Firshim, Hapoiskim b'mayim achronim. That's all those people. That's the first sheet of the Shulchan Aruch. Here in the second one, like in the Yerushalmi, however, further down, he learns that Ani Diafim Yerushalmi Mikro is how the Yerushalmi is learning, and this going on the Rishayna. The Hahid Yerushalmi Gan came b'mayim achronim. So even the Yerushalmi here, the Gro is saying that those who learn the other way, the Yerushalmi is going to Mayim Achronim. V'ratza Leimer. So it says ve'ein mekatrik al oto suda. That even though you're doing it at the end, it seems to be like a lemafreya mekatrik, that the suda at the end, that there's a kitrug of the satan on the suda if you don't do it. So therefore, at the end of your suda, then satan comes and it's mekatrik if you don't do this. That's how he's learning the Yerushalmi, and therefore even that source of the Yerushalmi gets lost according to that pshat. Now the Shulchan Aruch in the previous simon is if a lot of people are sitting in a suda, then the biggest one takes first, and the Rosh, he would be ragil to wash at the end, so that he wouldn't make a break and that he wouldn't speak. So here, is coming down in the halacha that this idea of speaking, the Rosh wouldn't do it. So now it's like being formed in halacha. So the Ber Hativ here, the Rishal, the Yemshel Shloimeh, he wrote that it's about gaiva to do so, seemingly to wash at the end. Adarabba, you should go first, and then you will be careful from speaking, and then other people would learn from you. And the Taz writes upon the Rishal that it's not, his words aren't kedai to push away the words of the Rosh. So since the Rosh was doing it, so therefore it has that mokum, and you can't just push it away with the svara. And further, wrote the Rishal that the Divrei Torah are not a hefsek. And also that's not mistaber, because you can be worried that maybe it will draw out your shear and you will come to his hesech hadas. That's what the Taz says, and so too says the Bach. The Man Avram writes that that word right here, to not speak, it's that we don't be speaking any asek and Indian acher. He's speaking about things that have nothing to do with the Suda, the heavy hefsek about. But a Sicha Ba'alma, 2 or 3 words, it's not a hefsek. And Kol Shekem, when someone asks him something that he's mutter, that he can respond. So even if it is usher to speak, you're still allowed to speak. So this is the Shulchan Aruch Harav, as he brings down the Kuf Samachay, that if there's a lot of people sitting there, you wash your hands first because of the kavod. But there are some of the Gedolim that they would go at the end, so bringing in the Rosh there. Why? So that they wouldn't have a hefsek with a delay just sitting around until everybody washes. So again, when you're in a Suda situation, when you have a lot of people washing, so there's going to be a delay anyway. So this is the kind of maklokas of what's going on there, that I don't want to have a delay, so I'm going to wash first, I'm going to wash last, or because you're the Godel, you should go wash first. And to not speak the Divrei Esek, the Inyan Acher. So as he's bringing down the idea of speaking, he said, so then you don't speak things of matters, you get involved in talking about deep stuff or something else, as will be explained in the next simon. So in the next simon, it starts off that they don't say until it's time suda, ela shalois has been time in some type of asek until you have this hezech hadas from the suda. So this whole idea is that you don't have the Hesech Hadas. The Yoshamrim, also the Mayim Rishonim, you need to be careful. So again, the whole thing we've said, and he's talking about the Suda, until you see time Suda. So even though you have all that, everyone's going to hold that you don't have, not everybody, because we saw again in the Torah even brings down that some people hold there's no din mechlal of Mayim Rishonim, but the halach will hold that if the Mayim Rishonim there's not going to be a break, but what that means with the break is that you shouldn't get involved in other things, and hezech hadas that you wash for the bread, and now you just get involved in things that nothing to do with the bread, and then you forget about the bread and off you go. So then the Yeshayimrim here is being machmir that also the Mayim Rishonim that you need to be careful, just like Mayim Achronim, because there we say until sitayim bracha. So So if you're just sitting there, that's going to be called a hefsek. And again, people get so bound up and not going to talk, they don't even know they're not supposed to have a delay, or they'll do something else, or they'll wash and then they'll go play with their phone or whatever. As long as they're not talking, they think they're okay, which is completely losing the whole idea here. And shalol l'sorach ein lehefsek efsid. So anything that's shalol l'sorach is also shouldn't have a hefsek even by waiting a little bit. And to be speaking is also even the divrei Torah. Here it's going keneged the marshal and saying that divrei Torah is even aser. The ein tzarich loymar in something that's chol v'toiv lechosh l'divreihim. So he says toiv. So someone's talking to toiv. So obviously someone does talk. You don't have to say brachos again, but it's toiv to be chosh. So even according to the Shita, ein tzarich lazer ela midivrei be'ezeh esek ve'inyan acher val sicha ba'alma is going like the Magen Avraham here that you are allowed to talk. Kol shekein is mutter to give an answer if someone asks him something. So again, being OCD about, even in the Machmer opinions, being OCD about talking just isn't a thing. Meaning the Suda v'tzricha ein achoshev hefsek afilu bein hamoitzi lechila kol shekein bein netila lehamoitzi. So that even when you're talking to something about the Suda, so therefore you're allowed to, that's not called a hefsek, you're talking about the Suda. Since you're talking about the Suda, then for sure you're allowed to talk, because again, the idea is a hesech hadas, and that the dibur, the speech, will be a hesech hadas from the Suda. So therefore, once you're talking about the Suda, it's not a hesech hadas. Again, the inyan of speaking isn't a problem. It's speaking about something else, brings your mind after your speech, after your talk, even divrei Torah, you can start thinking about your shir, and that will bring you away from the Suda. When you're talking about the Suda, there is no issue. So here's the Mishnah Berurah. V'tov lizaher, v'yishamrim shetzarech lizaher, afilu b'shehi alachot. So even just waiting. So again, this is on the Machmer opinion. So just waiting around, not talking is a problem. The kol shekain shlo lidaber bein time. So even more so, speaking in between is going to be an issue. Afilu sicha mu'added, even a small speech. So again, the 2 or 3 words are okay, like the Magen Avraham. Be'efila b'divrei Torah chashav hefsek. So again, that's not like the marshal. Don't speak divrei Torah according to them, according to those shitas. Then you have to be careful. Levad, but what you don't have to be careful from the devarim shehem letzorach suda. That is mutter lehefsek. The chula amos. So here, Mishmur, even though he's going machmir, obviously you're allowed to talk about the suda, no problem, because that's not a hefsek. That is the suda. So here in the Aruch HaShulchan, which will obviously sum up the whole sugya. So he brings down the idea of the Rambam and the Torah. After you dry your hands, you then bless immediately, bracha motzi, and don't have a isok harbe, don't have a big separation, even if you're silent and kol shekain with words, even to speak divrei Torah is asur. Because this is what it says in brachos. Again, this is the first take them until it's time bracha. We also say there with the Hillel, take them until it's time suda. So we saw all that. So that's all going on my Rishonim, and therefore don't have a break. Again, the break is the ikr. Amnan yeshmer b'seino. So we say that you don't need to be careful from a hespek b'shtika harbe. So there he says he's a hespek b'shtika. Even though the way he's learning the other shitas is that you can't have this. You don't have to be worried about a silent break between Daim and Hamotzi, as long as you don't have a hasiach das. Again, the ikr is a hasiach das, because that's what he said. Natiz Daim is in the bracha is on Maim ach roinim b'davka. Now we have the Suda, is Kavana there, is that you won't have with the Maisa Acheres. Or Bedibur Shizeh Mevile de Hesechadas. So again, you have this Dibur that brings to Hesechadas. So any Dibur you have that doesn't bring to Hesechadas, then there's no issue. But a separation with Shtika is Mutter, and in the Torah, that's the Das, the Rif and Rambam. So he brings the end of the Torah, Yesh Omrim Shitzarech Lizaher B'tov Lizaher. So there he writes that it's only good to be careful, but the ikr of das is that you don't have to. What's the ikr din? That you don't need to be careful. So here the Aruch HaShulchan is going machmecher about to speak for sure is aser. Elin ken l'sarach hasuda. Yeah, it's only l'sarach hasuda. Kamo lahavi melech kamo shis ba'er. So really we haven't seen any shitas that are like this. So you can speak a few words, or if someone asks you a question, you can say yes or no. But even the pashas of the lashon here is that anything is aser unless it is l'sarach hasuda. And again, kol shekain lasot eze maisa. Again, this is really the ikr, is that you can't be having your hesach das from the suda. And he brings down again. We've seen this idea that there's a chiluk in the iser of the hesach between the chol and Shabbos. and then a chol that there's no separation, like this shema yisichtaito v'yelech lo v'lo yechol, because you're worried. What is the hesach that you're just going to forget about doing? You're just going to forget about your meal. You wash your hands, you get involved with something. I don't know, like mixing up a cup of wine, and then just you'll forget that you're eating. You've made your cup, and you've completely forgot that you washed your hands, and then you'll just do something else. But on Shabbos, again, you have this the table in front of you, so therefore you won't have a hezek hadas, and therefore you will eat your meal. Now in the Yam Shel Shlomo, it has been referred to a few times, just to see a bit of it inside. He asked himself that the Torah, this is what the Torah says, that the Rosh would do this, and he says that it appears to me the words of the Rosh don't make any sense at all, because even according to what he's saying, that he's a chayshish because of hezek hadas and the break and the speaking, that he shouldn't be refraining himself from going first, because he's able to careful to lo l'sok b'devarim b'telim. And it's not just be poisek from words, but from words that are bottled. So obviously the Rosh, being the Gadol Ador, he's able to do this, and it's better from him that other people will go first, that the Rosh going last will force other people to go first, so he doesn't have a break, but the other people won't. Just the other people, they'll have a break, and they'll won't be able to. They won't know how to be careful. And Adarabba, if he gets his in hands and he's careful from having any sichas betela, then all other people will see him and they will learn from the Rosh, the Gadol Ador. They are sitting silently in his place, so therefore for sure he should go first and not last. So the end of the Yam Shel Shlomo brings down here aval ime vien lo litel yedab rishona. So they give him to do Tisidayim first, like that is the minhag. And he refuses to receive this, and it's an aveira biado, and it's bizoyin hatayra. So he's again going on the Rosh that he would delay to do it last. Why is he? Oh, look at me! I'm not going to wash my hands first. I'm roidev achar kovod fairly charif, and even to this far as a Rosh, it's not fitting to say I will do this minhag by myself in kedusha and tahira and precious, and I will not make. I will not separate. I will not talk or make a break. And others will break. Others will have to do this talking or this break. Adarabahaya lo little. He should have just washed his hands then, and he should be careful himself to not make a separation or break it. And then others will learn from him, as we've explained. In the Kal Vachomer, according to what we said, that there's no chashash of hafsaka. We don't have the chashash, even a chashash. It's a derech kovod that he won't be upon him as a muscle. That it won't be like a burden that I have to wait for the sheyishev yishmor yadav, so it won't be like a burden to do this. It's tov sheyishmor yadav. So nevertheless, even here according to the Yam Shel Shlomo, it is good. You should watch your hands, and watch your hands is an important idea here after washing your hands, which is different to talking. So by watching your hands, some people put them on the table, stick them in the air or whatever. But if you're playing with Lego or something, then you're more likely to be mamshech after something else. So you keep watch of your hands so you don't do other things, because shema yatzoch, and that you need natila. You might touch something that's dirty, if you parts of your body or sherets, things like that. You have to wash your hands again. To stam time that they are always busy, and because of that, then you make a geder and a sayik. So therefore, again, Mikaridin, everything's fine, but because your hands are doing stuff and you don't want to have to be washing again, or you have to wash and you didn't notice it, and therefore you just never bothered washing your hands again. So you want to make a fence around this. So therefore the geder and the chumrah is that you don't have a break, even with words. So don't even speak. So again, it's not maker din. If you speak, it's not an issue whatsoever. Therefore, you're careful that you won't be doing other things. Matov v'yasher, how great is all this? V'yafakocho, and well done, yasher koyach. And because of this, it is fitting to every year Shemayim to watch his hands, even with the warning of the with the break yafelo ligdor. So any break, it's good for him to make offense. If someone asks him something, a davar Torah, and he doesn't answer him, aven hu biado. So since it's only minhag chasidus, in order not to speak, and someone asks you something in Torah and you don't answer him, oy vavoy, he's got a sin in his hand. Since that since I've proven, you're able to make the separation, and you're allowed to talk. Ela mishum keder precious yechol lasos. It's only because why not speak? Because you're precious and you're in the geder of precious. And if so, it's not fitting that I will make this geder levatel divrei Torah, because all the world is standing on the Torah. And then and v'tzarech hasudahu, and the Torah is l'tzarech hasudah, because all the shochan that doesn't say divrei Torah is like a shaychen of the korbanos of dead people. It's from Pirkei Avos. And specifically, according to the Menachem, that the Yisrael Yoshim al Shaychem, so that they're sitting at the table and they're waiting for each other until they wash their hands, and they don't have any mitzvahs because the Satan is makachik on them. Therefore, you have to be careful. Lahavi melach al shulchan. So, according to this shita, you have to bring the salt onto the table because you're waiting for everyone to. Even if you have a small family, you've got 5 people washing their hands, and 1 or 2 people is already sitting down, so they're just sitting down waiting around. Now they're not talking, they're on Torah, so that the katrin is makatreg is causing problems because people aren't oimik in Torah, and therefore they bring the salt into the table, because then the bris of the melech will magain, it will protect them. If so, so if it's a din, in order to bring it's a law, you have to bring the salt to the table. So how much more so you have to bring the Torah to the table? And therefore I say, again he's going, this is his shita, that it's good, toiv ma'od, that he should be yar gil atzmo, that he should be ragil by himself, he should have this minhag, he should do this a lot, that he will not stop with the shitas patelas. Shemitoch kach yishmor es yadav. So don't make a break with sichas patelus, but with divrei Torah that brings chen, and it's fitting that you should make the separation. Rakshir shlo yeh ba yehuira. Don't do it derek kovod. Ela benachas velaatim chavero. But you're doing it with your friend nicely. And someone who comes into Haira in purity, then he will get help from the heavens. That's what that's in the Teshuva. So here he just kind of finishes off. Then again, by the salt you have to bring to the table for the bris. Torah is a much greater bris, so therefore it's good not to have divrei batala, just talking nonsense, talking about the football. So there, it's better to stay quiet, but to sit around and not have divrei Torah. So therefore, that's a bad thing, and you should be rogel. That when people are waiting around for people to certainly, you can have this a lot, especially in yeshivas or in big places where you're waiting. You could have 30, 40 people waiting for the hamotzi. So then it takes a long time for everybody to wash, and you're sitting down at the table. So these type of places, it's yalas chen. You should do this. You should write yargel atzmo, that you should be talking in divrei Torah because it brings chen, and you can give this pshat, this halacha. If you've no other Torah to say while you're waiting for hamotzi. So B'kitzur, talking isn't really such an issue. You can talk after the washing of the hands. Many people hold there's no real din of a break whatsoever after washing of the hands before hamotzi. Even those that do, you are allowed to talk. You can say a few words. It's not like a big sin by talking. But there is a minas chasidus. If you don't want to talk, then it's up to you. But to be shouting at other people, telling them they're not allowed to talk, so that's l'chayra in the ways of gaiva, which the Amshel Shloima is saying that's something not worthy to do.